It's a guy, a car, and a podcast.
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 How am I doing?
Buckle up.
To do it, why is that not? It's because the table and the like. I have to be a cinematographer sometimes and be like, why does it feel like it's tilting? Well, it's because I'm shooting a table at an angle that makes it feel like it's tilting. But the truth is, it may actually be. I don't care. And it gets to that point too, where I do a lot of work, and then at some point I'm like, I don't care. However it turns out, and I give up, man.
How many have you done?
That's a really good question. I wish I had a clean answer to it. I just posted episode 32.
Oh, okay, wow.
Of A Guy, a Car, and a Podcast. It actually started, I guess like a year and a half, 2 years ago. A friend of mine, Chelsea, it's a long story, and I tell it in a past episode of the podcast, but she and I were just talking, just out, being friends, having a good time. And I talked her into doing a podcast with me without her realizing that I was serious. And then when we started really getting into it.
So that was the first one?
Yeah, it was a girl, a guy, in a car. That went for like 20 episodes. And then she was like,
oh,
hey, this is clearly your thing,
yeah.
but I don't want this to be my life. I don't want to keep doing this. So she bailed. I reformatted the show into A Guy, a Car, and a Podcast, which is why when I was
were
like,
you guys doing
hey,
it in the car at first?
We did, yeah. We'd go on like an hour-long drive and just talk about whatever. So I like painted myself into a corner with the whole A Guy, a Car, and a Podcast, except that like after this interview, on my way home, I'll record like a little intro to it. Be like, hey, this is my buddy Mike, and that happens in the car, so technically the car piece is still there.
You can call it a library in a podcast, yeah.
I used to actually like pick people up and go on drives with them. Like I had a couple guests up front that I did that with, and at some point I was just like, it feels stupid because I'm not actually going anywhere. I have basically I'm just gonna like drive the loop 101 or something to like get basically where to end up where I picked them up at.
Right, yeah.
Which is pointless just to have a conversation on a drive.
Well,
like,
I don't know. It's the same. I mean, I guess it's a waste of gas.
And it's just, I mean, if you heard the show, the ones that happen in the car, or even the ones I do, are all in the car. I just like basically record me speaking all stream of consciousness on my drive home from work, which is like 30, 40 minutes, something like that. And I'll do it 3 to 5 days of that week, and then I'll glue those all together at the end of the week, and it's like a 2-hour show.
Okay.
Those, although I enjoy doing it, and although I think people enjoy listening to it, the ones that do, the audio quality is garbage because it's in a car. Like you just hear all the stuff. So part of the reason why when I started doing the interviews, I wanted to get in a space like this is because I want to eliminate the annoying element of the show, and I want people to have
it's good thinking. A
good experience listening to somebody that I really admire, or somebody that I'm just fascinated with by myself. Anyway, yeah, and it's just more comfortable. Like it's even on the show, like me and Chelsea be talking, and like someone would jump out in front. Like we were on Mill Avenue one time, and just nobody like pays attention to crosswalks there. People just jumping out, and I'm just like, oh, we almost killed somebody just now. So it's almost distracting. Yeah. And as much as I already have problems with following the butterfly, and I kind of just get off in weird places, like we're doing right now, it's just having an extra.
Yeah, the studio element seems to work for most people. I don't watch a lot of them or listen to a lot of them, but I have seen a couple here and there. But
I don't know, man. I mean, I've heard like Joe Rogan's talked about how his YouTube numbers are pretty big, and it makes enough of an impact that he makes an effort to do that, and so other podcasts have like fallen into that. I really don't know. This part I believe in. The video part is more like I mean, I guess if I'm going to do the podcast, I kind of have to have that.
But I sits there for 3 hours and talks to these guys. 2 and 3 hours.
And those videos, they have like multi-cameras and it's all edited. Like this is singles.
They got like a producer too, like hanging out back there too.
Which I would love. I would love for somebody to like call me up and be like, "Hey,
dude,
I like your show, and you just need some help. What do you think?"
This
I'd be
is
like,
your early days, man.
Do it. It is. It is. It really is. I'm just trying to like somebody. I listen to podcasts and audiobooks and music like all day at work in my data entry job, and just somebody today. Who was it? It was Jeff Ross was on Tom Segura and Christina Krasicki's podcast, and he just started his own podcast. It's called oh man, it's pretty new. It's the idea is that I think it's called Thick Skin. That's what it's called.
Okay.
And it's because he's the roast master general, but he's also like the idea behind it is. Life's hard, and we're all trying to get through it together. So he has like these emotional conversations with people. But he was asking Tom and Christina, who've been doing it for like 10 years, what are some, advice, words of wisdom? And Tom was like, sincerely, just consistency. The hardest thing about doing the podcast is just doing it. Yeah, just do it every week. Just make sure that something's up there. And as he's saying that, I'm like crying inside because I'm doing it, I'm being consistent, but there are some weeks that I put up a podcast, I'm like, that was the giantest podcast turd ever. Because it's just me, and because there wasn't much on my mind that week, or whatever.
I have shitty shows all the time, it just happens, and like I said, sometimes Joe Rogan's like probably the only one I've ever listened to from our whole episode from front to back.
Yeah.
And, there's some lulls in there, that's a long time to fill.
Yeah, his stoner brain gets a little.
Yeah, he drives me crazy, actually. I wish he'd like, he'll ask whoever a question and then he'll like answer it for him.
Yeah, he does get away with himself. So, first of all, super thank you for making time for this and being here.
Not all, man.
I was thinking about it on the way here about like how excited I've been to have this talk with you.
Okay.
Because A, we have a whole lot to talk about the fact that you reside on the other side of the world. But B, I think I first met you when I was dating this girl, Amanda, and I had quit music before I met her. Because I had some anxiety issues and I couldn't perform anymore. Like I get on stage and 20 minutes into an hour-long set or whatever with a full band behind me, like I just had these panic attacks and it sucked. So I just had to get away from it because it just wasn't, I was inconveniencing other people and just the whole thing was crap. So I quit music and I started going to school with the intention of going into film school because I was like, well, I still want to be creative. I just can't do this performance thing anymore. Met her, we moved in together, and she was the one, like I'd play guitar and I'd sing, and we'd sing together around the house. But she was like, you're good at this, and you should really get back out and do it. So she started looking up open mic nights, and that landed us one night at Rulabula.
That's right, yeah.
And then we'd gone to a few open mic nights, but there's something about the vibe of you playing, first of all, but also the atmosphere you create as far as an open mic night that drew us back. And we went there
Really? That's interesting.
Lot. So I'm curious.
Have you been back to, Jeff's doing it? Jeff Sullivan's doing it? Have you been back to Rula at all?
No.
Yeah.
No.
We went last night, and it's funny because it's like a lot of the same people as like 5-6 years ago, yeah.
Is that encouraging to you, or does that depress you? That like the same people?
It surprised me, I guess, more than anything else. Like there was this older dude up there, and he's playing like some Beatles songs. I'm like, I remember this guy. He's playing those same songs. And he's super nice, and his wife makes cookies and brings them all the time. He had them there last night. And but then there was that guy. He's a totally nice guy. He's a good player and that. And then this other guy who started coming later on, and he still does it. But I think he plays like he gets like gigs, like paying gigs, but still hits open mic on Tuesday nights.
Wow. Over
there, yeah. So it was cool, It's like it's kind of like this whole trip for me has been. It's been it feels like 100 years ago I was here.
Yeah.
And it feels like 2 weeks ago I was here at the same time. Like
I'm not even you, and I agree. Like, it's been just a few years since you
it's been 2.5 years
left.
Yeah.
It's felt like forever.
Yeah, I mean,
so having you back is like.
But also, like, it's like right back in where it left off.
So I think part of why that atmosphere was so comfortable for me personally is, as a musician myself, as a guitar player and a singer, I learned how to play the guitar through cover music, through just playing along with the radio and just learning, starting on bar chords and then eventually breaking out into like open chords and Led Zeppelin and just all these different riff ideas and all that sort of thing. And it just built out how I now see the guitar and how I write, even in a big way. But as I got out into being in bands and things like that, it like shocked me how many people play music and play it well and play it in bands that don't actually know anybody else's songs, and they just learn how to play guitar however they do, and they just kind of do their own thing, and they just don't like covers, they don't whatever. But with you, I felt a kindred spirit as far as somebody who not only likes covers, but like, you can play them from a place in your soul where I imagine that if the people were in the room that wrote the song, they would be like, he gets it. He gets exactly what I meant when I said that thing.
I have no idea. I've never even really thought of that. I've been nervous that there's a place out in Stockholm that I used to play at quite a bit, and there's this guy, this Irish guy who plays there also, and he was playing one night in his favorite band. He had a Rage Against the Machine tribute band. It's his favorite band in the world. Fucking Tom Morello shows up one night.
No kidding.
Yeah, the Prophets of Rage were playing somewhere, and it was wild. You know, he had the video posted. He got Tom up to come sing some like Irish, like protest IRA protest music songs. I don't know any of it, but he got up there with him, and then went out and like got hammered with him all night long afterwards. And he was like the biggest thing in his life. And so what that did to me was like, what if somebody that I really respect came in right now? Like, what would I do? But
which I imagine, and this is getting way far into the conversation, but whatever. We'll have the conversation as it flows. I imagine playing in Europe, the chances of that happening are a lot higher than playing here in America.
I don't know.
Because I would imagine that, enlighten me, touring, I'm guessing the venues, at least the quality ones, are probably not as, there aren't as many as there are in America. I'm not saying that the venues here in America are being all used very well, but there was like a killer time in music between maybe like the 70s and the 90s where anywhere from like small dive bars to like, you know, Marquee Theater to, you know, US Airways Center or whatever, like there's just such a collective of places where artists could go to play. I don't imagine Europe's like that. Is that wrong?
I don't know if that's wrong. I mean, Europe's a big place. You know, I know about where I am, you know.
Well, I mean, like,
it seems to me, honestly,
Russia's a big place, like, China's a big place, but, like, you know, you talk about Amsterdam, you talk about, like, Germany.
I think there's a shit ton of venues out there.
Really?
And there's a shit ton of guys from all over the world playing at all these places all the time. There's tons of it going on. It's insane.
Was that positive or negative for you when you got over there and you're like, oh, I'm...
No, I think it's great.
Not anything
crazy. It's great. Like one of the first ones I did, one of the first like long term gigs I was doing was in Copenhagen, and there's eight venues that one guy owns. One guy owns 8 bars basically.
Yeah.
And 4 of them are right next to each other, and the other 4 are right next to each other down at the other end of the the other end of the city. And so it's 8 guys every single night of the week playing, and then they all live in one apartment.
Oh!
And it was nasty. And I kind of, some of the guys have said that's like it's too bad. Like I didn't really get to know them. I didn't get the full experience because I was there for a month.
Okay.
And that I didn't stay in this piece of shit apartment with 8 sloppy ass musician guys who were just drunk all day.
I hear stories that that's how comedy works in America.
Yeah,
like
I've heard that too.
I've heard comedian apartment that you just stay at.
Well, they have musician. I stay all over the place in musician apartments like that, but it's only just me.
Wow.
But that one, I ended up going into the first day, just not knowing anybody, not knowing anything, who was going to be there, what my gig was going to be like, whatever. And I walk into this apartment, and it was just like, you know, just these dudes walking around in underwear. One guy was just drinking vodka. It was 3 in the afternoon. He lived or died. He drank himself to death. Not while I was there, but not soon after. Yeah. There was just a bunch with it. And anyways, my first night of the gig, some guy came up, and he knew somebody I knew. Some guy in Copenhagen, some Danish guy knew a guy that I knew.
Wow.
And he came up and offered me his apartment for the entire month, and I stayed there. And then every time I went back, I always stayed with him. And he would take off on vacations. He'd be like, all right, here's the key. He did not know me. Just here's the key. Here's what you're gonna do, in and out. I'm gonna go on vacation for 2 weeks. See ya at the end. Crazy.
Wow.
And we became really good friends, and so I never did the. I think I stayed one night in that apartment, in that bad flat.
I have too many questions about your experience over there, but just to make sure that we cover it, even if only for 45 seconds, in the sense of the kinship that I feel to you with your passion and power for playing other people's music, I imagine that's where you started. Like, how did music start with you and your world?
I wanted to, and you're right. There's a lot of guys out there who shit on it, And but I was a kid and I wanted to. I would picture myself playing these songs that I love. That I
a kid like 10, like
10, and I'd be like, I was the guy in my mirror, I had a tennis racket on my neck, and I was like singing songs. Before dinner, my mom was like, "Dinner's ready," and I'd be like, "The concert's not done yet. We're not done." And I loved it. I would do that all the time. And then when I got a guitar, I just loved learning songs and writing songs, of course. And when I started, I played guitar first, and then I became a singer later on. And it was the same thing. I'd do open mic nights, and I wrote like probably 5 or 6 songs. And I wanted to play like just these songs that I liked, and I wanted to sound like the guys.
Which is
I wanted to sound like the guy from Candlebox was in the 90s. I wanted to sound like that dude. And like all the high pitched like metal guys from the 80s and stuff like that. And trying to think who else, like just these metal bands, Wasp and shit like that. Like
every time Here I Go Again by Whitesnake comes on, I enjoy singing it, most of the songs in at least a portion of my range, but I've always got my eye fixed on that that note, and I'm like, every time I sing it, I'm like, I wonder how well I'm going to sing that part this time, because it always comes out of my voice.
Those are the hard parts, man. The hard parts always, sometimes, even now, I play every single night, and every single night, I'm like, I'll start like a certain song, and I'll be like, do I do this one? Do I have that one part in me? And, I don't really have anxiety around it anymore, because I realize that people do not give a shit if you hit it or not. It's nice for you to feel like you did it. And then sometimes if you do it, you hit it, there'll be somebody in the audience like, you hit it, like that. But it doesn't matter. If you don't, they're not mad at you. Listen to that.
Wow.
Listen to the originals. Listen to these, mega stars out there. Half of them can't sing the stuff that they're...
Especially not in the same key. Like, the biggest concert disappointment I ever felt, and by that I mean it wasn't a bad show, it was just kind of a weird letdown, was 2006 or 2007 Ozfest. Like Ozzy Osbourne headlining that concert. All of the stuff's probably down tuned like 2 steps. Because he's just an old man now, that's just not going to happen.
Can't hit it.
But I'm just like, dude, bro, like, my heart is inside of these songs, and maybe it's just the musician in me, nobody else can tell, or maybe they can tell, but they don't know what they're hearing.
They can tell,
but me, I'm like, just watching, what's his name, Zach Wilde up there, and I'm just thinking about how slinky those guitar strings feel, because it's just
13s or 14s on there or something like that.
Just so... But it was like sad. Like Ozzy can still put on a show, but man, like the sonic difference in the music, I'm like, it doesn't.
It is, and it's a bummer. And you and I are a lot like that. And you're right. Most people they don't care. They just want to hear they're there dancing to the words kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like they just want to hear their parts.
So you were younger. I love the image of you with a tennis racket because.
And I put like hockey
For
pads
me
on.
too.
That was my thing. I liked all those dressed up, done up 80s bands.
Yeah.
I said
And there's
lost,
something
but I
about
lost.
yes, it's cool to like learn how. It's almost like when you're learning how to play an instrument, the mechanics of it don't matter to you all that much. It's basically just a video game, which I think is why Guitar Hero hit as hard as it did. The hand motions and how your fingers move and all that is just muscle memory mechanics. The moment where you hit that instrument and it makes the noise that hits that feeling inside of your heart, that's what you're trying to do the whole time. And so the idea of like being so obsessed with the imagery of it, like you and I, we would take, I took my amp out into like the garage and stuff, and I just turned it up and play like Blink-182 songs, specifically just to get real loud and to get on my feet, to get off of like, the chair, learning how to play, mechanically how to play the guitar, and to get on my feet and to start bouncing around with it, to feel cool because you assume you're looking cool, but obviously we didn't. But we learned how. I mean, that's the worst part about looking cool as a musician is you figure it out on stage, which means you have to get on stage a lot.
And it's just doing your thing and being comfortable with what you're doing because, this, like Scott Weiland doing his slinky thing. Yeah. I probably wouldn't look that cool doing that, Or like Guns N' Roses doing his, it's his thing. He looks cool doing it because he's feeling
I've never even noticed it until you just did it, and I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what Axel does. He has like that head bob thing he does.
And it's just do what you do. So now, mostly I haven't been in a band in such a long time, and so for me, I stand there with an acoustic guitar and that's it. So I don't have to, jumping kicks or anything like that.
But that being said, and maybe this is a hard fast forward in the story, I saw the name of your band was like Capital
Down. The cover band, yeah.
It was in my brain and I doubted it. I'm like, that wasn't the name of this band. I saw you once.
Okay.
Like you guys did a show at Real Bula. I'd been to enough open mics that I knew you and I heard you do your thing. At that point, their streaming platforms weren't the way they are now, so I hadn't heard your original music. And that was the first time that I really seen you do your thing. And it was so fun watching you kind of get out from behind the guitar and just get on the mic and
it was a different thing.
The crowd.
It was fun for me, yeah.
And I'm like, this guy can do it all. And actually, for me, it gave me a higher amount of respect for what you can do with just an acoustic guitar because I knew what you could do, like just being the lead man of a band. So the acoustic guitar thing, it wasn't a crutch in the way that I viewed you anymore. It wasn't just like, well, this is all I can do. It was, no, this is what he wants to do. Like, he chooses this arena
thanks
to do it.
Yeah.
Is that accurate, or do you miss the...
I do. I miss... It's all fun, you know what I mean? Of course I miss the band. I love playing in a band. I would love to get into a band over there. We put together... There's this festival in the town where I live, and I played every single one of them. It started the first year I was out there, and I went back like 5 times, and then I played it the last 2 living there. And this past one, I put a band of guys, Swedish guys, together, and they learned the songs. We rehearsed it out, and we did a 45-minute original set, and it was fucking great. And we had such a good time. The guys are so badass. You know what I mean? They studied it. They were into it. And they were kind of doing me a favor by doing it, but they didn't seem like they were doing me a favor. They were into it. And it was a one-show thing. At the end of it, we wanted to do it again, but we never really got to because everybody's got their own thing going on. One guy, the guy who's playing bass for me, he's not a bass player. He's an amazing guitar player. He does a solo acoustic thing too.
Yeah.
This guy Johnny Anderson, and he played bass. But his big thing right now is he's the front man of a Bruce Springsteen tribute band, and it's massive. They're huge.
Wow!
And he's got the full 9-10 person band. And they're great, So he was doing that, and then actually the other guy Yoki's he's in that band. The last show they just did, he played guitar for them. But they got introduced to each other through this gig. They knew each other, but they had never played together. But he's got another original band. The guy Petter was drumming. He's in every band in town. And yeah, we did a thing, and it was just like a 45-minute blowout, just all original stuff. We had a great time. You know, it was cool, and I do miss it. I would love to do it semi full time again too. But
Wow.
yeah. So, but the town I live in is not a whole lot of venues. It's a small town, and there's one really badass rock venue that we hope to play at. Man, maybe we still will, but right now I'm on the road a lot, so it's hard to get rehearsal time and even just time to book, you know, a gig, one night thing.
So walk me through being 10, learning guitar, writing some songs, playing open mic nights into Capital Down, or was there some other musically significant things that happened?
There, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
what happened?
So when I was doing the open mic nights, I was the solo acoustic thing on the bar stool. Like that. I was learning how to sing. So I was learning how hard it is to do consistently. You know, because I was trying to sing high. I was trying to sing very hard parts and stuff, and sometimes I was great, and sometimes I was horrible. So I was doing it, and then there was these guys in town that I really looked up to. They were a cover band, and they were traveling around, and they all had this long hair, and I was like, I want to do what they're doing.
Yeah.
And so, like, in that however many years it took, something happened where they fell out with their singer. And one of the guys was like, "What about this kid?" And I felt like Mark Wahlberg there. I totally did, and that wasn't even a thing yet. That was my deal. Was way before his. And I joined this professional band, and all of a sudden I was playing. You know, it wasn't a full-time thing. But it was every single weekend we were traveling, and it was like I felt like a freaking star. But I had a lot of really terrible nights. And, you know, in a 4-hour night, man, if you start off shitty and you got 4 hours to kill now of not being great. So I learned a lot about, you know, when you're having a rough night, doing all that. And then I went from that, I met this dude who was doing this solo acoustic thing full time. And he'd been doing it forever. He was a fucking solid pro. And he kind of took me under his wing, and we did it together. We did this duo thing. And we did that for a little while, a couple of years. And I mean, you know, just all of a sudden, no job. That's my first time of not having a job anymore. And I was just playing, you know, 7 nights a week, but sometimes 11 shows a week. You know, we do 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon. We, you know, during the summer, crazy. Just, yeah.
Damn.
So I learned a lot by doing that. And then I moved to Arizona. From New Hampshire. I'm from New Hampshire.
New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
So I moved to Arizona and kind of just started doing the solo thing.
Why Arizona?
Because me and my buddy were talking about getting out of that town and going somewhere. And he was chasing his ex-girlfriend. He wanted to go, his ex-girlfriend was back here. So he wanted to come here. And
you came here chasing a buddy's ex-girlfriend?
The two of us moved together, yeah.
That's so good, keep going.
So we did that. He was back in 6 months, I think he moved back. She didn't like him anymore.
And were you like shipwrecked or
no,
I was
no way. I dug in. I loved it. I loved it right away.
What year was that?
It was the end of '99.
Okay. So
and my next door neighbor at the apartment complex I lived in was a drummer, and he moved here. He moved to this, like we moved in on almost the same day to neighboring apartments. And so we made a band. We were doing he was playing drums, which is an acoustic duo, and then, you know, we had a bass player and a guitar player. We ended up touring the country for a couple of years. We put an album out.
Touring the country?
Insane. Like 3 months at a time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you were
we'd go out for like
rooted in Arizona, but you would like
we would
get
just
in the
go
band
everywhere, and we got little pools of, you know, fan bases here and there, like Nebraska and North Carolina and here and there. And we just keep going to those places, and kind of that's where we go and refuel, literally. That's where we'd make enough money to put gas in our tank.
Yeah.
And, you know, we did that for a couple of years. And then, you know, stopped doing that. And I've been doing I went straight into doing the acoustic thing again, full time. And then Capital Down, somewhere in there, yeah. Then we started doing the cover band, and I was doing both. So, and we did a lot of
Capital
traveling,
Down
too.
was a cover band?
Capital Down was a cover band, yeah. And we tried to write a couple originals. Actually, we had a couple, but we never recorded anything, right?
So was that intentional on your part, going from an original band to a cover band, or did
No,
you,
so it was a cover band. They were already working, and they needed a singer too, basically.
Okay, so you joined something.
So I joined that thing, and it was cool, man. We all hit it. We were just all best buds right away. And the first gigs were like a week in Reno, Nevada, and then a whole month, I think, in Alaska. Was it 2 weeks or a month? Maybe it's 2 weeks. It was a month though.
Meaning a single venue booked you for like every night for a month?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, up in Anchorage, and that was awesome too. And we just, kind of kept doing that. And then we'd play our stuff here. We do like, I don't know, we get booked at weird places. I don't even know. I've always been really good at booking these things, but I was not involved in any of that. So I just...
Which do you prefer? Do you prefer having your hands in the pot and know what's going on, or just showing up where you're asked to be showing up?
It depends. I like both.
Yeah.
I do have to be in control of stuff, but I do like not being responsible for stuff.
When you're in control of things, where do your intentions lean to? Are you more like how much money you're getting, or where you're at on the bill time-wise, or how long you're playing? Like what kinds of things are you...
Well, and if you're doing the cover thing, then you're the only one on the bill, and you're there all night.
Well, I mean, unless the rule of the St. Patty's thing was uncommon, I would think that, you weren't the whole night.
No. Actually, I was on short. I had the guy took an extra hour set, and so I cut into mine, so I played for like an hour and 20 minutes that time, instead of 3, which is fine at the time.
Is that uncommon? I mean, most of the time when you have a contract with somebody, you just get up there and you're doing all 4 or 5 hours or whatever they need?
Yeah, but like if it's like a thing like that, like the St. Patty's Day is a thing, so of course they're gonna have music all day long, and I'm not gonna be doing that. So it's usually you have a slot with something like that.
Got it.
But like what I do full time in Sweden and Norway is I go play somewhere for the whole week, 3 or 4 hours a night, every night. I was in Switzerland a couple weeks ago for 15 days, 15 nights straight, 4 hours solid. Every single night, and I almost didn't make it through, but I did all right.
All right, here's an anxiety question for you. When I was in an Alice in Chains tribute band at one point.
I would love to be in an Alice in Chains tribute.
It was fun. It was a lot of fun, and the guys that were in the band were really good. It was called Grind, and I played bass, and I sang all the Jerry's parts, all the backups and stuff. I got to we played a show down in Tucson. And it was one of the first times where I think the drummer's friend had like a Winnebago, so we got to really kind of tour bus it down. Like we got to go in this Winnebago and have a good old time down there, and we get it all set up and we're on stage and there's maybe 20 people in the crowd. It's not anything too big, but we enjoy playing together. It's a good time. I'm on stage. We're 3 songs into the set. We were playing for hour 45 minutes or something like that. And I look down at the set list, and I see the 3 songs that we've already played, and I see the 20-something songs that have yet to happen. And
So in a tribute band, you were going to play 20-something songs? Mm-hmm. Okay.
I mean, we were good, and so we were aggressive about it. We went hard, and we would play long sets. And at the time, I was actually, when I joined Grind, I was also fronting the Foo Fighters tribute band.
I remember that, yeah.
So we would play together a lot, and I was on stage
my
3-4 hours a night.
Time's brother used to go see you guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it was fun, but in that this was during the anxiety period. This is where all that was starting to build up. When I quit Grind, that was when I quit music. So I'm looking at the set list, and I see all these songs we have yet to play, and I just start feeling trapped.
You want it to be over, and you can't?
Not that I want it to be over, but that I don't have any control over the next hour and a half of my life. I gotta stay in the pocket and I gotta do this thing. I'm not saying I still feel like that. I'm saying in the moment, I just got this very, what do they call it when you're in an elevator? It's this very claustrophobic feeling. Yeah. With you playing these arguably very long sets and things like that, have you ever dealt with being in the middle of doing something that you love and it just becomes a little mundane, and you just become like a little like unplugged from it, and you're like, shit, I gotta do this for another 2 hours? Like,
of course.
What's like your worst case scenario?
Well, I don't have it like.
You've never had to leave the stage because of it. Like you've never.
No. I'm not an empathetic person. I don't know what it's like to have anxiety like that. I'm not like people say like they can feel other people's pain like physically and something like. I can feel bad for somebody. I'm sympathetic.
That's interesting.
But I just.
You just always loved it that much.
No. I'm just saying like so when people talk about anxiety and stuff, I have no frame of reference. So that's not what I mean.
Okay.
About being trapped on stage.
Okay.
Just sometimes like if I'm having a shitty night, I can't sing good enough or whatever, or if I don't know, maybe my back hurts or my finger hurts. Like there's a spot on my finger that every time I hit that, it's push it in.
Yeah.
But not an anxiety thing, not like that. Or it's just a shitty night. The crowd's not feeling it, or there's nobody there.
Have you ever had like a meltdown, just in the sense where on a shitty night you like start to disrespect the art to entertain yourself? Do you like fuck up songs, or do you like just get a little like sometimes down in Gotham, if I just don't think anybody's listening, I'll play like Fire, Water, Burn or something just to see if anybody even gives a shit that I'm standing there, because you can't play something like Fire, Water, Burn saying, we don't need to water, let the motherfucker burn, without somebody's head turning.
Right.
And so it's kind of like I can use musical shock value in those moments to just try to be acknowledged. Yeah. In those moments where you're just like, I'm just a bad guy. That's
90% of my life.
But you're good with it. Like you don't.
It's part of it.
As long as you're not complaining, you're just like, that's fine. This is what I'm doing.
Yeah, no. If it's gonna be a problem or whatever, obviously I'm not gonna try to lose my job, but yeah, that's kind of what I do.
I mean, I've gotten to the place, although I'm still doing originals, and I finally kind of got a band together, so things are getting a little exciting on my end there. It's almost like a workout for me. Like Gotham has just become a place where I go and I play for 2 hours. Why? Because I just need to sing and play guitar for at least 2 hours a week in public, in front of people, trying to manage that relationship, trying to keep myself in a space where I know what it's like to feel how people react to what I'm doing, and to kind of adjust the set list and to have a relationship with them. I need to do that a few hours a week, so that if the band thing ever happens for me, which it kind of is starting to,
I see what you're saying.
I can step into that feeling very like athletically, like musically athletically prepped for it. Like I'm in shape.
Absolutely.
To do this because I've been doing all this nonsense. But it makes me like I've like rediscovered so many covers. Like when I started at Gotham, I just hadn't played in so long that I was just like, what songs do I know? And initially I was just playing whatever came to my head. Some songs I'd forget, like the third verse too or whatever. I'd be like, I gotta go back and learn that. But for the most part, muscle memory kicked in, and I just started remembering, and all the lyrics just started reforming themselves in my mind. And then I started making a notepad on my phone so that I had like something to go to be like, all right, which one am I playing now? But anymore, I think I just kind of try to go with it. Just let. It's almost like, I think what people don't understand about being a performer is when I'm in the middle of just, really putting my heart into something, and you're just like, oh, wow, this sounds great. He's really into that. I'm really on autopilot, genuinely. So my brain is free to just think thoughts. Mm-hmm. You're watching me like just, get into an Elton John song or something, but my brain is already thinking about what song needs to be played next, or what I need at the grocery store next week. It's kind of like, I think, how women feel about sex. Where, like, in that moment, they're there with you and they're having a good time, but mentally they might be somewhere else. Because they don't need to be invested in that way. So I guess that's what I mean. Like, in those moments where you're just doing the thing that you do, so it doesn't take a lot of focus, you're just good at it already, what do you do when your mind just has 3 hours to just wander because you're doing the thing that you're so fucking good at that you don't have to put a lot of mental energy into it? Am I making sense?
Yeah, I know what you're saying, I actually had a question, but because I don't really know how to answer that. But I don't know. Just whatever happens in there, just happens.
You're comfortable with floating in and out of the moment and doing whatever,
Yeah, what sometimes what stupid joke I can tell, or what I'm gonna what food I'm gonna eat, whatever. That's exactly
Which you're really good at, by the way. Like you, and I guess I've never seen you in front of a crowd where you don't know anybody. Anytime I've ever seen you play, you know at least 5 people in the crowd, so you kind of have inside jokes. You have things you can play on to keep people happy.
And now that English isn't their first language, it's a lot more challenging too. So sometimes they right over it. I don't.
So let's transition into that since you bring that up, because I'm so.
Well, I want to ask you first about.
Do it. Yes.
So do you find that like playing those 2 times a week in front of people, like you're doing that, like you said, so you're prepared for. For a band thing or for anything.
For whatever comes, even if somebody just starts asking me to come play at their restaurant for
exactly,
3 hours.
So, on top of that, does it help you with your just regular overall anxiety that you feel? Because I'm sure it's not just about music. That if you have this claustrophobic feeling and stuff, I'm sure does that leak over into other parts of your life? And does facing it and doing it and getting over it, help with the rest of it?
I'll try to answer that. That's an excellent question. I'll try to answer it in 2 different ways. The anxiety, Amanda was such a huge part, and you met me in a time in my life where I was starting to face the anxiety. So basically what would happen is she would push me to get out on stage, and I'd get out on stage. Usually I don't open mic night, so it's only a few songs, so there's not enough time for me to really get anxious about it. But there was times she'd book me at a bar for like an hour-long set or something like that, and I'd just be up there with Coke and water and just trying to deal with myself. What happened during that time is I got in a place where when I'm in a band and the song starts, unless I walk around to each band member and kick their amp over or jump on top of them, I've lost control because the song is now starting. We're on this carousel or whatever, and I can't get off. I got to play my part for the next 3.5 minutes because everybody else will be playing their part, and it's sort of that stress piece. I think that was what the anxiety was, where it was just like, again, I lost control. I enjoyed what I was doing, but it was also something so mundane, something I'd done so many times that I got freaked out by the idea, like this weird mentally and emotionally claustrophobic idea that once the song starts, I'm stuck in exactly what I know I have to do for 4 minutes. So the acoustic thing, when I could get up there with an acoustic guitar, I got control back. If I was in the middle of a song and something was happening, I always had the ripcord of, you don't have to finish the song. You don't have to keep going. And what happened was, I'd start to feel the swells of the anxiety and the weird little dry, heavey, gaggy thing happen. And I learned how to calm myself. What I noticed that the first time it happened was in a Foo Fighters gig, and it happened an hour and a half into this set that I was just screaming my balls off, and I was just jumping all around the stage. And what I didn't realize until a few years later, when I'm sitting here on this acoustic guitar and doing it again, but in a different way, is I had maxed my body's energy out. But I wasn't listening to my body tell me anything, because in my head, I'm still that kid with a tennis racket just trying to be my heroes. I'm trying to just push myself all the way to the edge, and I would push myself into anxiety. I would just overdrive my body's energy until it just, I couldn't do it anymore. And what I started to find when I was doing the acoustic thing was, I can tell, if I'm paying attention, I can tell when my energy is getting a little bit too much, and all I gotta do is just calm down.
Pace yourself.
And it doesn't affect the mood of the show. I'm not taking anything away from the audience by just taking a minute. Just take a breath, let the engines rev down a bit, and then you'll have this constancy that's going to get you through 5, 6, 7 hours of playing because you're listening to your body. It was really that. It was just, those are my 2 answers to it. Because one, I felt very trapped inside of this prearranged thing that I wasn't frustrated with, but something about giving up the control of what was going to happen for the next hour just made me feel weird. And it really got inside of me and just fucked me all up.
That's interesting.
But it's what I know now, if I could go back and just reapply it to then, it's, dude, you're a good musician. Stop pushing yourself to headbang. Stop pushing yourself to try to scream like Dave fucking Grohl. Do you know why he can do that? Because he's Dave Grohl.
Yeah.
You need to figure out how to play these songs in a range that works for you. Don't scream. Just hit a really high note that's within your register, but is going to simulate the emotion of his scream to the crowd. And then your voice isn't shot. You're not taking a drink every 5 seconds and filling your gut up with water and fucking yourself up in all these different ways. Like, it was just stuff that I was in my mid-20s when I was doing all that, and I just didn't know any better, and I didn't have any, like, musical coaches around me to, like, help me understand what was happening. So I ran away and quit because I was just afraid of it. But then this amazing girl, like, just puts me gently back into it, and then I'm like, oh, that was it? And now, like, with the afterlife, just with other things that have happened since then, like, now I just understand it. So the stage isn't a scary place for me. It's more, it's just like,
it's just
you know, you're going to feel
you're gonna learn
like the adrenaline, so just steer it. Don't let it steer you. And now, I mean, with the original stuff, it being all my stuff, I feel like I just have a different motivation around it. Like, I don't think I couldn't see myself feeling that claustrophobic feeling because what I'm expressing is stuff that I wrote, feelings that I've actually felt, so I want to project them into people's hearts and things. But even that being said, like, if I could go back now and do the tribute band thing with how I feel now, I'd just do it differently. I wouldn't push myself as hard. I'd stop trying to be a better musician because I felt inside of myself that I wasn't good enough to be singing for this Foo Fighters tribute band or to be in the Salvage and Change band. So that required me to go all out to even be good enough. The only way that I'm going to be good enough is if I'm just hitting it as hard as I possibly can. Now I'd just be like, you are good enough. That's why you're in this fucking band. So just chill out and just enjoy playing these songs.
All your heroes, everybody's all, learned the same thing at some point, or whatever, whatever level
I hope
they had
so.
to.
I hear very few of them talk about their, like, encounters with anxiety, so I just kind of sit back and I hope that's true. Especially with you. Like, you were just like, no, I can't really relate to that, but I'm sorry that that's happening to you. My insecurities say that's how all musicians feel. None of them have any idea what I'm talking about. They enjoy what they do and it doesn't stress them out.
I get stage fright. I just meant about the whole, like...
What's stage fright like for you? At the St. Patty's gig, I will tell you this as a fan and as your friend, watching you set up your own PA made me mad at the venue. I wish I would have known what was going on so I could just clock in as, like, your guitar tech and everything, because I'm like, does everybody know that he came from halfway across the world to do this? Like, is there nobody around that can set up a PA for this guy?
It would have been nice to have one set up for everybody, just have one rented. Most places do that, but it's part of the deal. I appreciate that, but that never even entered my mind.
No?
No.
Is that not?
It would be nice, though. It would be very nice. Next time, dude.
Is that...
I'm going to call you up and maybe make that happen.
Do you enjoy that part?
No. It's like cleaning the dishes after you eat, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be great to have somebody do that, or just have it set. Just have a on a kind of a festival setting like that. Just have a sound guy or whatever. But whatever, it's fine.
So walk me through from the time. So this is 2011-ish when I meet you doing the open mics at Rula Bula. During that time, were you already looking overseas for gigs and things like that, or had you not gotten to that space?
No, that whole thing worked out. I mean, I wasn't ever really, obviously, I would have been open to it, and I was open to it, but I wasn't pursuing it. And that open mic night, in fact, was this dude from Sweden came in with his wife, who's from here. They were visiting her family, and he's an amazing musician. She's great too. And they came in and did some songs on open mic night. They were looking like you did for open mics. They came into mine. And, we hit it off. I got him some stuff around town. And he kind of just invited me to go, I can get you gigs over there in Europe and stuff like that. I said, yeah. And just made a big thing out of it. At first it started, I'd go to Sweden for a couple of weeks. And then, actually he hooked me up with that thing in Copenhagen, so I did that. And then started just looking around online and found a thing in Ireland. I ended up going to, like, just all over the place. I just went, and then, the next year I had those kind of locked down and then added to them. Went to Scotland and then I went to London and, Norway. And then, through that I found this thing in Switzerland and I'm still doing it, still just finding out who's doing these things, who'll pay me to go there. And then they do, yeah.
Did you, I feel like every now and again someone will swing by Gotham and they'll like what I'm doing and they'll start talking this talk. Like they know somebody in the biz or whatever, and they'll take my card and they'll be like, yeah, we'll get in touch, da, da, da. And I guess I've just gotten used to the talk, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm sure they fucking will. Was there any piece of this dude from Sweden that to you felt like maybe initially that, that's not real, this isn't really going to happen?
No, not with that, no, not at all. When he hooked me up with the thing in Copenhagen, it was a month long, and there was no income until the end of it, 2 weeks after that gig ended. So I played for all of August, and wasn't going to get paid until like September 15th or 16th or something like that. So there was some fear about like, I don't know any of these people.
How confident were you that money was waiting on the other end of that rainbow?
I was not, no man, I didn't know. But I talked to some people about it, and they're like, well, it's the worst case scenario. You go out there and don't make any money for a month, But have gone and played in Copenhagen. Who knows what would come out of it? And so much did. Tons of other things came out of that. So
really,
yeah. So it was tough. I had.
So wait, the original was the month-long thing in Copenhagen and then home.
I was in Sweden for probably 2 weeks, Copenhagen for a month. Then I went over to, Jesus Christ, I think I went over to England and Ireland.
Was that all planned beforehand, or did any of that?
I also went to Germany. I didn't play, but I also.
So you had a one-way ticket to Europe?
No. You have to buy a 2-way ticket. You can't go there unless, or maybe you can. The way I remember it was I had to have a return ticket, and you're allowed to be there for 90 days, and I think I was there for like 88.
Oh, because of visas or whatever.
Right.
You can't.
Exactly. So you can't overstay.
You were there for 88. So the return ticket is like kind of standby, like it's not a specific.
No, I had it set. Everything was booked beforehand.
But I guess I don't fly enough, and I feel less than right now, or even not having this information. But a ticket can be rescheduled. Like you can
really
push back.
Not often. No, I mean there's some airlines that will do that, but most of these won't.
You said you were there for 88 days. Was your back ticket? Did you fulfill the correct?
Oh yeah. I had the whole thing planned.
Oh, so you did the England, all that.
All of it was planned. Yeah. So and
through this dude, or did you?
No, the Sweden portion was through him.
Okay.
And everything else was either
you
through.
did it all through the internet?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm hearing you say that, and it feels like it wouldn't be too hard to just look up a city and find a bar and send them an email or something.
Yeah, just and the more you do it, the more you. Like I said, there was that Copenhagen thing. There was 8 other or 7 other musicians there, and you get talking to them, and they know somebody, and somebody knows somebody. It's just like that. The more you do, the more you learn how to do. Can we pause for a second? I need to take a leak.
No, go.
Get back. Sorry about that.
Don't be sorry. Oh dear. That's how we roll. Welcome to podcasting. Oh, it is freaking crooked, isn't it? Totally is. Son of a bee. I don't know. I do not know. Oh man. glad you said something.
This feels like like a criminal investigation.
It totally does look like one of those,
Yeah.
Right now that I'm looking at it, like if you look real careful, I can see how it's slanted. Oh, dirty me.
That's fine.
I don't
That's
even
fine.
care. Done with it.
I'm a little slanted too, so that's why this week has been a comedy or revolving of like drinking my weight in alcohol and then rehydrating all day long. So my bladder is pretty fucked up right now. So.
It's okay.
But yeah, I mean as far as the booking goes,
yeah.
like I said, there's fucking tons of people doing it, tons of them, and there's all these guys who everybody does it differently in a way. There's this one guy that I met. I met this guy in Texas, or I met him in Copenhagen.
Mm-hmm.
He's from Texas. He wasn't part of the whole scene.
Yeah.
He came into the bar because he was in transit. He had finished his tour. So I got on his Facebook, whatever, and this guy tours like crazy. He's from Texas. He just does this like kind of bluesy thing, just original stuff, and he goes like to everywhere. I always see it. I asked him, I was like, dude, do you have any like contacting for the gigs? And he just like isn't wanting to give it up. And I'm like, come on.
Which I would think would
he's
be
in like Latvia and Lithuania and like Serbia and all that shit down in Eastern Europe, places I've never even heard of. Kazakhstan, he's playing out in there.
Wow.
But then he's also doing Amsterdam and Belgium and England and Italy and there's a bunch of guys from Phoenix doing it actually. And they do it a different, do you know Brian Chartrand?
No.
He's like, he does, he gigs around the valley and then he must have some kind of special music because they go back and forth all the time. They're over there right now in, I don't know, all of those. They're just over there. They're in Germany one night, then they're in Switzerland, and they're in Austria, and then they're in, Brussels or.
Am I understanding you correctly that it's easy to get booked over there?
Yeah. It's not really hard to do. I think
Easier than here?
Same as here.
Well, what does that mean? Because I don't know that I find it easy to be booked here, but maybe that's because I'm looking for
it's equally a pain in the ass to get booked there and here. But if you do it, you just do it and you make it happen. That's it. That's the same thing as getting any gig here. Some places say no. Some places never get back to you. Some places get back to you 6 months later.
Okay, so it's like submitting your book to publishers or something. Like you won't hear back from 80% of them. The 20% that you hear back from is just going to be like 17% rejections that don't say anything about what you actually wrote.
Yes,
and then there's 3% that might just have like constructive criticism or whatever. Like the work you're doing to get gigs is massive.
Yeah. It's just like anything else, man. It's like recording an album. It's trial and error. You just do it until you get it. And sometimes, like if you're gonna go over there and do a tour, and maybe you want to do 30 nights in a row, you want to play every single night. Maybe you'll play 5, but do those 5, and you'll make connections to do 10 next time or 15 next time, and then eventually.
So it's kind of a lot of do as much work as you can to get what you're looking to get. Don't be disappointed with what you actually get, and just work what you actually get.
Yeah, and that's the same here and everywhere. Booking, like I said, I booked a bunch of tours. I did like a 2 and 3 month tours alone, solo, before my band went out. I did that to lay the groundwork so that the band could go out. I think I was out for like 2.5 months the very first time. And I talked to this guy who I saw was touring around, and he kind of gave me some, tips, some advice on how to do it. And it was simple shit that you just, but it helped to hear it.
Wow.
About how you go about doing it and stuff. And you gotta, plan ahead and plan how long you want to. You have to know how long you want to be out for. You have to know where you want to go. You want to have kind of an idea of where you want to go first and second and like that. And that's gonna change as you book it. But in the end, it is what it is, and you do it. And it's the way it was supposed to be. And that was the same thing with.
I mean, have you ever come home from a tour? I'm just gonna use air quotes here because of my point. And not felt like you were just on tour? Like felt like you played a couple of cool shows, but you wouldn't call that a tour, and you've always just been like, that's a dope tour, man.
You get tired of it, but when you get done, everybody who does it, everybody will say the same exact thing. that you get like sometimes, you can't wait to get home in your own bed and all that stuff. But then the second you're home, you miss it. You like, you miss the moving around.
Yeah.
You miss the, the adventure of it.
So financially speaking,
that's the tough part.
that the thing you went out and did acoustically to sort of lay the groundwork for what you would eventually take the full band on, this is out of pocket because you're going to rely on these bars or whatever to pay you what they said they would pay you, but maybe they won't, and so you just got to
happens,
living on a prayer kind of thing.
Yeah, if you want to do something, there's risks involved, and you got to take the risks, and it wasn't easy ever, any of it.
So,
and there were some places, I remember that first time, I remember there was a place in Durango, Colorado, and I was excited. It was my first one I got, and it was the first stop on the whole thing. And they said they could take, I'll give you like $50. I was like, fine, I'll take it. It's better than nothing. It's a stop on the map.
Yeah.
Like when you're doing anything, it energized me to just have something booked, something down.
Yeah, for sure.
So I go to the next place. And then, some places are like, you can come and play our open mic night or whatever, but it's not a paying thing. It's like, all right, I'll do it, but you can still look around for something else in that area and do it instead. You don't have to show up for open mic to get something else. But then I remember there was this place in Wichita, Kansas. And I talked to the guy, and he offered me $600 and I was like, yeah, I'll take that. That's great. And he was so excited about it. He was for this Midwestern place. He was excited to have somebody that wanted to come to that town and wanted to come to his.
So that one didn't even have anything to do with you.
Nothing to do with me. No, I was just some dude.
Guy.
But I also put together this pretty good looking press kit.
How important is that?
Very important. You want to look professional. You want to look good.
But when you're doing covers, do you have full-on CDs or whatever? Or is it all visual?
This is 2001. So at the time, I just got one of those CD burners.
Yeah.
And I just made a little 5-song demo and gave it to him, but I also put it in a folder of just 30 seconds or 45 seconds of 5 different songs. I don't know.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And at the time, that was good enough. Now everybody wants, videos and, maybe a little, say something about yourself into the camera. And,
do you have all that?
I don't know. I need to do it though. I really need to do it. And I'm lucky that I've been doing pretty well without it.
Wow.
But and most of that is just from meeting people, from somebody saying, yeah. I know this guy.
Yeah.
I know Sneaking Airboard. He gave me your name or whatever, and then they call him and he said, any good? He said, yeah, sure, put him in. Like that. There's a lot of that kind of stuff going on.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think I have a very idealized vision of where you're at.
I'm probably ruining it right now.
No, because I guess we haven't talked about it in enough detail to ruin the way I envision you're doing all this. It feels like you're living the dream, but I have to assume, based on the fact that we all have a very specific vision when we start dreaming this dream, and kind of like you said, as you're booking the tour, things may not go the way you want them to go, and so you just kind of have to...
Somebody's not setting up your PA for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Are you in a place right now where you feel like you have arrived and all you got to do is just keep doing what you're doing and you're going to be happy? Or have you just conquered a specific ground, that being the other side of the pond, and are now just thinking, well, what next? And making plans for, doing something different? You mentioned wanting to do the whole band thing again.
Yeah, when you undertake a project like that, like doing a U.S. tour or the summer European tours I was doing, then at those times when it's kind of it feels like a huge accomplishment, and I kind of get complacent in that. I want to do it again next year, but just like anything else, it's gonna lose some of its shine after a while, so you want to do it different. You want to do it bigger. But I take some time. I take some time getting there. Sometimes I'm not an incredibly driven person. It takes. I can
I hear you saying that, and maybe you're just being humble or modest, but
No, like
Maybe you just know dudes that are doing this, so it feels normal to you. I'm a guy
It's
who
normal now.
hasn't had the balls to quit his day job and is just like fighting to do podcasting or music.
I understand
aside. Like, I'm looking at what you're doing and I'm like, fuck!
Well,
I'm failing. How is he doing
that's
this?
why I'm here talking
But then
to
you
you,
tell
man.
the story and it's like, he's doing it just by doing it, asshole. Like,
and
if
you're
you want to
fucking
do it, go
biggest
quit your
heroes,
job.
man. Your Dave Grohls and your biggest heroes out there just did what they were doing. You know?
Ugh.
They just, they, they just tried until they, tried and failed and did it. You know, when he put out his first Foo Fighters album, I don't think anybody wanted to take that seriously. I didn't. You know, but it was great. And then, he could have, that could have been his one-off, and he could have been a drummer for some other band or whatever, but he just kept doing it. I mean, it's the biggest freaking thing in rock music now. There's nothing bigger than Dave Grohl. And,
I mean, do you want that? From where you're sitting right now and with what you already do and that you play music all the time and you make a living at it, do you want arenas and platinum records and all that stuff?
That's not on my to-do list, really. I mean...
So you are good where you're at.
I would welcome it.
You're happy.
Yeah, but I want to go more places. I want to...
So you want to keep doing what you're doing, you just want to do it in more places.
Yeah, but I don't know, like, I'm not sure.
Like you haven't been
artistically,
to
I don't know exactly
Eastern
what a next...
Europe or Asia or any of that. Like you haven't...
To play, no. So, yeah, like I got a buddy who I met when I was on the road around here, who just, on his Instagram today, is leaving. He had a 6-month engagement in Singapore.
Wow.
And while he was there, he got booked for a wedding, like I think in like South America, so he had to like quit for a week, go to South, so I mean, there's like I said, there's all these guys doing it and they're killing it in their own way, And I would love to do that gig. And I met a guy from Canada who had played for a 4-month thing in Dubai. And it's like, it's just the same deal.
Is your phone contact list just full of gold?
It's Facebook, dude.
Oh, no. I feel like I'm not using it effectively because
I feel like I'm not using it effectively.
I put my phone number in so many places. I'm like, hit me up, we'll do this. And all I get is like Instagram DMs or Facebook messages. And
that's the way people want to communicate, I think.
I guess it
But
makes sense.
for me, like, I have a phone full of phone numbers that it's going to cost me a lot because I have a Swedish phone number now, so I can't keep calling the U.S. It's like, I mean, it's just so easy. Internet, you have Facebook is just so easy, or whatever one you use. I guess you should use all of them. But so whatever one they want to use, that's the most important thing.
Were you at all afraid when you got to the point where you realized that it was, and maybe you can reposition how I'm seeing this, it seems to me like you probably felt like it was just a better idea for you to move home base across the ocean for what you were doing. Is that true? Or
it happened the way it did.
It happened by itself? Like you just...
kinda.
Really?
Yeah. Like if you would have talked to me 5 years ago, actually, you know what, I remember, maybe it was 10 years ago or something. I remember multiple times people would ask me if, because I've been around the U.S. a lot, like, where would you go if you could go anywhere and money wasn't a thing? And I always said, I love Phoenix. I totally camp it here. There's better cities out there. There's better music cities out there, I guess, but this is a great music city, don't get me wrong, but I mean, like
it's not LA, it's
Reputation,
not
LA and Austin and Nashville and those places.
Right.
I wouldn't want to move to those places. I love it here. But I always said, if there was an opportunity to go somewhere else, I would take it, but I'm not aiming to go anywhere, and that is what happened.
Like, they invited you? I mean, I know you're in a relationship.
Matt's invited me, and so I was going back there, and I liked doing it, so I was like, I'm going to keep doing this. And so, then I met my girlfriend now. She's Swedish, and we hit it off real good, so I almost right away started, she invited me she's like, do you want to move here? And I was like, yeah. And move in like that. And so, there's it took like 1.5 years maybe of, the government bullshit. Just waiting.
No, I don't know what government bullshit.
Yeah, you gotta fill out papers and give them money and pay to see if they want to let you live there full time.
Is it like America? Do you have to take like a test and like Swedish history and all that stuff?
If I want citizenship, yeah. So my buddy's wife, who's from here, she just got her citizenship, and one of her things was, I think you have to sing the national anthem. And I'm not ready to do that yet. So I mean, I would.
So you're not a citizen.
I don't know it. I'm not a citizen, but I can come and go as I please. I have like full, free residency for as long as I want.
Wow.
But I don't have a passport and I can't vote and, sing the national anthem. Yeah. So, going over there and like touring and doing these gigs was a lot different story about it. If I'm gonna be able to do it full time there, around the calendar, and it took a while. There was this. I got really lucky through some friends, and I got involved with this agency to start off with, and they kind of made a lot of promises that they didn't really fulfill. They said they would keep me so busy that I'm allowed to work anywhere I want. But I'd be so busy that I'd never be able to.
Oh, wow.
And it just was never like that. And I'd be like hanging on it, like just bugging, like, dude, what happened to this? And then, they're just like really nicely saying, like, don't worry about it, you'll be fine. Like they, almost in a way where like, you're making plenty of money, don't worry about it. Like, I'm like, no, I'm not.
Wow.
In a way like that, I'd get like one thing every like 2 or 3 months, 1 week to work in. And so, with the way they were kind of telling me that, like, don't worry, you'll be busier like that. I didn't pursue other stuff because the stuff they paid great. So I didn't want to book like a weekend here if I was going to get a week there.
Yeah.
So I didn't really make much of an effort to do anything. Well, after a year of that, I spent all the last year just getting my own stuff, my own ducks in a row, being in control of my own schedule.
Yeah.
And now it's totally worked out. I played. I haven't been home on a weekend since the beginning of the year. Still to now, including right now.
Wow.
And when I get back, I purposely took some weeks off here and there, but like it's full up, yeah.
Wow.
So you can make it work. Just gotta do it, and you no matter what you're gonna do, if you wanna, whatever your goals are, your dreams are, or whatever like that.
I think
just do the small stuff.
My perspective on living my own dream has changed. I think anymore what I see is I've stopped seeing the dream as the dream has been pitched to me by music culture.
Totally,
where it's just
like, fuck that shit.
You gotta be on tour, you gotta be on a record label, you gotta do all this
stuff. And all that stuff is fun.
And I'm sure it is, I guess. But what I've seen it is, what I've come to see it as is, what do you want to do inside of music? So now it's like, okay, I want to put a band together, which is what I'm doing right now. I'd like to play auditorium shows, and I understand that that's not going to happen all the time, but I think with my own capital and teaming up with like a production company of some sort, I could probably play 1 or 2 a year. That's manageable. And if I team up with some other bands that have a decent fan base, including anybody that wants to see me and my band play, we could probably fill a 300-seater, like a high school auditorium or something like that. It's possible.
Of course it is.
And what else do I want to do? Well, because not many people are probably ever really going to have the chance to see my band, arguably, because I don't know that we'll ever be able to go on tour, although I would like to play shows out of town. I'd like to have like a live concert footage of my band, so at one of these auditorium shows, I'm just going to hire a film crew to come in and shoot the thing, and then throw that on YouTube or whatever. And essentially, the idea is I'm just going to kind of chase my dreams. Like anything that comes in my head and something that I want to do, I'm going to realize that nobody else is going to pay for it, nobody else is going to make time for it. I just need to go do it.
Yeah, don't wait for somebody
and so
else.
I'm just going to get up and go do it. And I'm super curious, just with the way the universe works, the law of attraction, like if you go do stuff, the universe will start throwing you opportunities. If any of that will actually like...
That's exactly how it worked out.
Yeah?
Exactly. Put your band together. Do it. Put it with maybe not the best players, but maybe not the right players, because they'll drop off and somebody else right will come in later on. Put your band together. Or
you're right.
Or don't do that first step and keep waiting for it to be perfect, and it's never gonna be.
That right there is the perfect thing to say to anybody who's 16. It's not the don't tell them, oh, just take what you can get. Tell them fine, don't do it then, and watch what happens.
Yeah.
If someone would have put that fear in my head at 16, like, the whole thing probably would have looked different. But I'm also really actually happy with how things have gone so far.
If you want that, 300 auditorium or the fucking, Civic Center or whatever.
Yeah.
If you want that, you're never gonna get your first bar gig if you don't put that band together.
Right.
So step one, man.
Step one, yeah.
Write a bunch of songs, write a bunch of bad songs if it's not working out. Whatever, write some stuff, do it.
And I feel like in
make
my
bad
case,
videos. And I do this too. You said you want to have that, you want to have a good promo video of like a great show and stuff like that. Well, you gotta have videos of your shitty shows before you can get those.
It's true.
With 5 people. Look at, you can see like on YouTube, you'll see like Rage Against the Machine playing in that, the college, and they're just on the thing, it's just a bunch of people walking by. Do what you tell me! Fuck you! And people just walking by, don't even notice them. That's out there now, and it's great. It's
so
great
true.
that it's out there. They're probably embarrassed at that video for now, but now people love that video.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And there's a picture of like Tom Morello in the audience watching Tool, one of Tool's first show in his tiny little shitty club. You know that picture?
No.
Yeah, it's just Tom Morello's geeky ass little Tom Morello with a baseball hat, looking up at Maynard with his mohawk thing going on. And it's like they became 2 of the biggest stars in the world, and they were just 2 dudes in a club at some point.
Yeah. I mean, part of the whole, like, the reason I made the album, Farewell Aquarius, was because in all the other bands that I've been in, what would happen is dudes would get in a room and they'd write these cool songs, and then they'd go out and start playing these cool songs to people who were just like, okay, this is the first time I'm hearing this song, and it's live coming out of your face, so I'm only receiving this song with how good the venue is actually, like, the sound guy or whatever is, and your amps or whatever, like, that's the taste of this song I'm getting, so off you go, here it comes. And people would only really become your fan from being at your show and seeing what you do over and over and over again, and there was just nothing for them to really grab onto, and I just thought, in a very Foo Fighters kind of way, the process needs to start with an album. Like, you can't just, you could put a band together and you could do it that way, but it's going to take a lot longer than you coming out the gate, like, release the album, boom, and then you can start playing shows, and people will show up to the shows with the music already in their head because they've been listening to it, and you're kind of ahead of the game at that point. So the whole idea was, I don't have a band, but I have the capacity to record and produce. I'm just going to make the damn album. And then the band can go out. And that's what's been interesting about the process of people being drawn to it. Now it's not me putting out ads, which, mind you, I did, and the Craigslist process of that was a nightmare because it didn't actually work out. But when I played Gotham one night, and there was just this dude sitting at the Mexican place there, and he was clapping after every song and stuff. I'm like, thanks, bro. And he took one of the CDs on the way out, and he was like, hey, man, I really like your stuff, and I'm a guitar player, and I'd like to play in your band if you want to like work with me to form one. I'm like, oh shit, well hit me up later.
There you
go.
go.
Was on the thing.
That's it.
And he did, and that turned into me and him just playing acoustic and stuff. And then like one of my old drummers, the guy from like the Alice in Chains days, like, sort of wanders back into my world, and we start talking about that, and he's like, dude, I'm in, let's do this. And so in a very law of attraction way, like, it's been, and my self-esteem is having kind of a hard time appreciating this, because I'm like, this is real. If you actually just get up and do it, like, the universe,
it's simple as that, man,
actually responds with help. Mm-hmm. Like, the universe wants you to be successful and happy. That's what it's there for. And so it's tripping me out watching like the band kind of come together, and I have high.
Just keep your eyes open for.
I don't know if I have hopes. I don't know if I've let myself get my hopes up at this point. I'm just like, well, let's see how we're feeling about this 5 practices in. But it's weird to see the thing grow by itself. Like, even just hearing you say, the thing just happened by itself. I think people listening would probably be like, yeah, that's crazy talk. Nothing happens by itself. But I get what you're saying, because I did things. I made the album, and I've been out playing Gothams and everything like that. But this thing coming together isn't anything I could have done.
Right.
These people wandering into my world.
It doesn't mean it's effortless. It doesn't mean it just happens to you.
Right.
But when you recognize an opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's the first thing you recognize. This is something I could do. Mm-hmm. I'll just do that. The first time I went to go play in Sweden and that.
Yeah.
I recognized it. I saw it. This is something I could say, because Because in my life, who knows how many times I've done like, nah, probably not gonna work.
Did you even have a passport at that point? Was there
Well,
any way of you getting over there with
no,
the original offer?
Yeah, I think I had a passport. Yeah.
Did you? Okay.
But I knew there was things I had to do, you know, and
Yeah.
I just did them, you know. And you know, booking the shows and stuff. I called tons of places that didn't get back to me.
Yeah.
And it was discouraging, you know. But do you ever think about the times when you there's so many missed opportunities just because of your shitty attitude.
Yeah.
Just because of like, told me that wasn't gonna work out or whatever. Maybe I don't have a passport. I don't have a passport. It's not gonna work out.
Yeah.
People keep telling me they're gonna come visit me all the time. They're always saying, I don't have a passport. I got this going on. I got that going on. They're blowing an opportunity to come to a really beautiful place and see some cool stuff. And who knows what comes out of it if they're, you know, into that. If they're interested.
And you know, in that vein, and I was going to tell you this a second ago, and I forgot to. In the vein of something I've been learning recently about controlling your attitude is last night was supposed to be the first band practice, the first time that Evening the Score was in a room, like the three of us anyway, and running through material. And both guys, like hours beforehand, before we were actually going to do this, had to bail for legitimate reasons. Like one of them was sick and the other one was going on a trip, I knew that, but just thought he would be able to break away and do this, but just he needed to clean the house, he needed to get packed. There was just stuff that had to get done. And both of them messaged me that, and both of them were super apologetic. They're like, dude, we're not flaking, we swear, we really want to be a part of this, we're so sorry. And it was really, that was really nice. But it was also a moment for me where I've been this band has been in my mind and heart since I was 17, the idea behind this band. I've been in music for so long, and I've always just done what anybody else. I just joined active bands already, did their thing, put all my talents toward other people's visions and stuff like that. Never once picked up my own thing and did it. This is the first time in my life it's my thing. Day one, everybody drops out for legitimate reasons, but this moment where I'm going to be in a room with my band and be able to do my thing totally like deflates. And I think to myself, because this has become my relationship with the universe, is the universe trying to see if I really want to do this? And I don't mean that in the sense that like, if I'm going to now go out and I'm going to try to like do things to fix their problems or to get them to show up at this band practice. I mean that in the sense that like 20-year-old me would have probably like argued with his girlfriend that night or just taken out his frustrations about that disappointment in some stupid way. And I think that in some karmic way, I think that there is a justified punishment that sort of comes our way from doing that. And so in that moment, when all this like thing is deflating in front of me, I think, you know, it's okay. We're going to practice next week. Everything's fine. All I got to do is just find something to do with my night and enjoy myself because this isn't the end of the world. And I was thinking, as I was processing it that way, that I wonder, to your point of like bad attitudes or whatever, I wonder if those attitudes really stand in our way because they're sending a message to the universe that you're right. I don't actually care about this thing. I'm just pissed that I didn't get mine, and that energy sort of negates what you're doing.
But even if you think about it, and I get the universe and the energies and the planes or whatever. I get it.
It's hard to find a language to even talk about.
Yeah, but if you just if you take out all that, you just look inward at yourself, and when you are defeated by something like that, it's not independent of whatever message you're sending out.
Yeah.
You're telling yourself a story about yourself that this is a failure. I'm not meant to do it. Blah blah blah.
That's powerful.
Yeah, I mean you're being defeated. You're being these fucking guys. I can't count on anybody fucking like that. I'm never gonna band off the ground. That's not sending a bad message out to the universe. I mean, maybe it is, but it's telling yourself that maybe you're gonna yell at these guys and they're gonna fucking hate you now because this guy's a psychopath. Whatever, anything like that. Or or is it you'll see if these guys are the right guys and just stop wasting your time. If they're flaky, multiple times, you'll at least see that they're not the right ones. I'm not
That's a
saying
good
they're not.
point. It's like, circumstance aside, the voice in my head may be the same voice that was yelling at me in the tribute bands
Absolutely.
to push myself so fucking hard because I'm not good enough. It's that
It's
voice
all in
trying to,
there,
like,
man. It's all that attitude stuff, all those thoughts that you're having. That's why I asked you earlier about the anxiety. Is it like a thought? Is it a thought thing? Like, are you thinking to yourself like, oh, I can't, about the there's too many songs left, I'm out of energy? Is it a thought thing, or is it like a real? When I said I don't understand about people about when people say they have anxiety as like a mental disorder, I wonder if it's like, can you really think yourself through it?
Now that we've actually talked it out, I think you helped me come to a new level of understanding about this, so thank you. I think it was the fact that I didn't feel good enough. And I knew from experience of playing shows with these guys how hard I was going to push myself to try to feel good enough. And I think what happened is I would look at the set list, I would do a mental check of my gas tank, and I knew there wasn't enough in there for me to push it hard enough for me at the end of the day to feel like I deserved to be in this band. And I think I just like physiologically imploded about that. And
I can see where that could.
Now that that's been solved, because now I'm my own thing. Now I don't rely on anybody else, and I don't. Now it's all coming.
And the good thing is that you're in charge of it. The bad thing is you're not in charge of all these people. So
yeah,
whether or not they're going to be as excited about it as you can't control.
And we talked about that. Like the day before I saw you at St. Patty's, like I had a weird experience with millennials that I told you about, where it's just like, I think audiences don't appreciate how hyper aware the entertainer is. We see you. We can almost hear all of your conversations, even if maybe we can't physically hear it. Like, our energy is so heightened from performing that we get it. We get exactly where you're at. We get if you're bored or don't even give a shit that we're there. We know all of that. So you all have like a huge impact on us because we...
Well, that's none of your business. What they're,
Walk me through this. This feels like the solution to all of my problems, and I don't know how to get to what you're saying emotionally. Like, I want to get to that place. Do you just play for you? Like, when you're up there, are you really just entertaining yourself, and anybody else who gets entertained, like, that's just collateral?
I don't think I put that much thought into it. It's like, it's what I do. It's just what I do. But fucking... all the time it's frustrating circumstance like that with the audience people who they're not paying attention, not clapping in the songs.
Yeah.
Whatever. That's none of your business. You can't judge your work on that. You want to do your best. I've had, on the other side of it, I've had terrible nights where I know I sounded like shit. And, maybe I'm sick or lost my voice or something like that. And what's funny is my girlfriend will say, she's like, oh, I'm sure nobody noticed. And I'm like, it's the wrong thing to say. So you're telling me that on a good night it doesn't matter just as much as it doesn't matter now? Because people will say at the end of it, oh my God, it was so much fun, thank you, so great. And I'm like, I've learned to not say, I fucking sucked. I think it. I'm like, thanks, glad you had a good time, and that's it. But their, praise of my shitty night doesn't make me think I was better than I was. So why am I going to let some guy who didn't get to hear a stupid song the third time in a row, or third time all night, if he tells me I suck or whatever, I don't believe him either, like, if I know I did a good job, I know what I'm singing good, it feels good when you sing good. And
so do you have, like,
of course you want people
an emotional benchmark as a performer that once you've hit it, you are satisfied with what you have done, and that's like the dopamine release or whatever, like you're good, you did it?
I'm just saying, if you do something enough times, you're going to have good nights and you're going to have bad nights. And yeah, I'm not saying I brush it all off easily. I walk out place and fuck this place, But whatever, I get over it the next day when I have to go back there again, and maybe I'll have the greatest night ever. And
you don't go down like a rabbit hole of like,
no,
why am I doing this? I should totally quit this, and like you've actually constructed your leaving of the music industry by the end of the night, but then you wake up the next morning and you're like, fuck it, I'm gonna go back and do it. Like, you don't go that hard down the vortex?
No.
Oh, I do. It makes a lot of things hard for me, really, to just get so...
I mean, you know...
I think it's a control issue. I think it's that I'm considering my anxiety came from that.
You know,
I need to be in control of things at all times, and so when things don't go well, I immediately think I need to start making plans to change things because it didn't go well. Because I need to stay in control of my circumstance, if that makes sense. And so it makes me...
Just do what you want to do. If you want to do it, don't worry about if somebody likes it or not. Because not everybody's going to.
Yeah.
You know? Not everybody likes Foo Fighters. Almost everybody does, but not everybody.
They're fucking better. They're wrong if they don't.
Yeah, right.
No, that's not true. That's just being elitist. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I mean, there's all these metal bands. There's all these bands in general.
Yeah.
Any pop music, you know, we can all stay there and fucking say they suck.
Mm-hmm.
Justin Bieber sucks or whoever the new flavor thing is. But guess what? They're
5 million people bought that record, so
yeah, and they can't, you know, they're killing each other to get into the arena and to get close enough to this guy or girl or whatever to see it. So maybe we're wrong.
This is a really good series of, I guess you can call them lectures. John Mayer did this, like, I don't know, this series at Berklee College of Music years ago. It's on YouTube. It's really good, and he just kind of talks about a lot of parts of professional music and stuff. And at one point, he's talking about like songwriting, and he just basically asks the crowd, who are all, you know, aspiring musicians and learning and stuff, do you think you know what a hit song sounds like? And all of them say, yeah. It's like, okay. And he basically tells them a story. He made Heavier Things with like Daughters and a lot of different stuff on it. He's like, there's a song on that album called Come Back to Bed. I thought that song was going to change music. I thought it was going to like impact the industry. I thought, like, in the way Nirvana did, I thought this was going to like open up this whole new like jazz sector of what pop music could be, whatever. And he's like, the label hated it. And they were like, no, release Daughters as your lead single. And he's like, nah, because then people are just going to think I'm like a singer, songwriter, guitar player. Like, it's going to brand me as that. Like, this song's what I do. Point being, he did eventually release Come Back to Bed. I don't think they let him release it as the first single. I think it was the second single. But he said it was one of those moments where, like, when I put out Come Back to Bed, actually, no, he didn't release it as a single. It was just an album track. But he's like, it was a moment where I was like, oh, here it is. Here, let me light the fuse. Everybody back up. This one's going to explode. And he was like, it was one of those moments where nothing happened. Zero impact. Right. And he's like, I realized at that moment, not even just the record company, but people. He actually asked at one point when he was like, do you think you know what a hit song is? He's like, do you think most people are stupid? Do you think most people just don't know what good music is? And everyone's like, yeah, most people don't know what good music is. He's like, let me tell you a story. He tells that whole story. He's like, I learned that people aren't the problem. People aren't stupid. I'm not smarter than them. They'll tell you whether a song's good or not by whether the song even has an impact.
Yeah.
And it was an interesting point for me to realize that, and Foo Fighters talk a lot about that, where they consider the audience as a sixth member of the band. Like, they think a lot about how they poise their music in the sense that they would like it to connect with the audience. So instead of like musicians, sometimes, especially we've been doing it so long, we could just get so obsessed with the techniques or just all sorts of interesting things about how music can be built. At the end of the day, with Dave, he's like, it's a pop rock song. And if we can't sit back into the fact that we need to have verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, like we can do interesting things within that, but the song is intended for
you can write songs that aren't for mass consumption and put them on your album.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, you'll probably never play it live or whatever. You know? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's those are all like really, really, you know, huge points.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, I have in closing, I've been thinking about something, and please shoot me down. Feel free to shoot me down, but it's more, I'm just pitching an idea to you, and as the universe works, if it comes to fruition, fine. I'm super fascinated by what you've accomplished just in not only being like a professional musician in the sense that you pay your bills with this shit, but you've managed to do it in an area that to me just feels like success. It feels like it's one thing to just tour around the U.S. It feels, and I feel like I've heard other American bands in interviews talk about the fact that if you can make it in Europe, like you made it. It's hard to impress those people. So it's impressive to me that you sort of have a following there. But I'm so intrigued of like what your life is like doing all that. You mentioned just having like multiple gigs and being in all sorts of different places like that. I think that it would be so fun to have like a film about what you do, like a documentary about what you do. And on top of that, I kind of want to come over there and play, but I also realize, based on what you said, that's hard and just takes a lot of rejection and all that sort of thing. So,
But you have a connection there.
I do, and my good friend Mike. So, I mean, if you're into it, and then we can, figure things out in the future, I would love to, like, come over there at some point.
Yeah, man.
Follow you around with, like, a camera and, like, get a shot of how you just get a picture of what it is that you do.
Might be the most boring thing on film ever.
Do you really think so? Like,
is
it just so like
I do some
matter
cool,
of fact to you that you're
no,
like?
I do some fun stuff, but like, it's not, this whole thing that I'm doing is not the circuit I'm kind of in. It's not really touring. I don't really call it touring because touring is like you're in that city and then you're in that city like that. I'm not doing that. I'm going to a place and staying there for anywhere from 2 nights to 15 nights, or 30 sometimes,
Physically going there, actually changing residences, like
like I said, they all have, they all have either a hotel room or like an apartment down the street, whatever like that. And I play about, like I said, 3 or 4 hours a night. There's a lot of time in there, and I go walk around. I go see some beautiful stuff all over these
your
places.
Instagram is.
And I like doing it. I really like doing that. That's a I guess sort of a passionate thing for me also. Just doing it not to be some kind of professional photographer or Instagram celebrity or something like that. I'm not trying to get 1 million followers. But I like the people that I know. I like sharing these places that they'll probably never go. That takes about 2 or 3 hours a day. I know a lot of these towns that I go back to inside out. So there's a lot of time in between there that there's not a whole lot going on.
Well, maybe.
But I would totally be down with it. And other people have talked about doing that too, follow me around with the camera.
Oh, okay, all right. I don't
And,
want to step on anybody's toes if somebody else
they're not doing it.
knows what they're doing.
They're not going to do it.
Because with me, literally, you'll get followed around with an iPod on an Amazon stand.
No, I wish I had that footage actually.
What I do.
I think there's a lot of good footage to be had in there for sure.
Maybe we can figure it out where we could do it both sides. It would be fun to see you stateside, back here doing what you do, Rula Bula packed house, like back with your fan base here, and then follow you over there and like see what happens there.
I want to do it. I want to tour the US again too. I want to do get a car and do that. I missed it. I loved that. It's great.
I want to join you on that. I want to selfishly speaking, I'd love to just play,
And as far as going over there and playing, there's a couple places I could totally get you into. Like a one night thing, but like these places in Norway that I play for an extended thing like that, you got to be legal to work there. Like what does that mean? It means they don't pay you in cash. You know what I mean? Oh. Yeah. So I probably couldn't get you like a week-long gig in the city.
Oh yeah.
But you could play at this bar in my hometown, in the town that I live in, and I could probably think of a couple other ones too. Oh wow. Off the top of my head, so yeah, absolutely, man.
You know what I hate about this conversation is I literally just today Googled from work how to get a passport, how long does a passport last, all that stuff. Like it's stirring, and you're saying these things, and you it's opportunities, and like my knee-jerk response is fear. I'm just like, oh shit, like this is real. This
get over it.
Happens. All right.
You can't even go to Mexico or Canada if you don't have a passport.
That's true.
All right. Yeah, get one. Get it. Go today and start looking into it.
It's
like it starts. You know, it costs like I don't know, $200 or something like that. And it seems expensive, but it's like it's a fucking pass to the whole world.
How much is a plane ticket to over there?
It depends, man. You gotta shop around. We got the one to come here. The reason we flew into LA was because we got a direct flight from Stockholm to LA for $350 round trip each. You know?
And I mean, is that just as easy as like Priceline? When you say look, like what do you?
I mean,
how do you look?
You keep looking. You check. You keep checking back. And you look at airlines. There's different airlines, and there's different. It's a lot easier now with those websites.
Are there bogus sites and
whatever.
stuff where like you can buy like not real tickets and all that stuff? Like that's what scares me about.
I don't think it's like not real tickets, but what they do is they fuck with you. They say, okay, here's the price, and you, all right, go to buy it, and all of a sudden it's like more than it was. It's because they tack on like you click that button, so now you're gonna pay this for nothing. And
did you do it through the airline or did you do it through?
I do it through an airline because I have a favorite airline.
Yeah.
Yeah. SAS Airline. I love them. Scandinavian Airlines.
Okay.
SAS is just great.
Wow.
And so in fact, I know they offer that trip every once in a while, and Norwegian Airlines, who I don't like, but they offer the same trip. Same.
Stockholm to LA.
So they're always Stockholm or Oslo to LA. Yeah.
Okay.
Round trip because they have to compete with them.
I mean, 300 is nothing.
That's fucking nothing. But
I imagine like 1,200 or just.
Yeah, it's gonna be more like that. It's gonna be like 800 to over 1,000.
Damn.
Usually, yeah.
But
when I was over there,
like you've got a floor I can sleep on. And I could change out $100 US to just buy like a hot dog every day or something. Like it's doable.
Yeah. It
I
is.
say hot dogs. You see what I mean? That's how American I am.
Yeah, it's gonna be kebabs.
They don't have hot dogs.
Oh, they have hot dogs, dude.
Oh my lord.
They have hot dogs.
Dude, thank you so much.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Hanging out on the podcast.
Yeah, no.
I'm excited. I'm dead serious about this.
Now we're gonna go we've been just going from one thing to the other. Now we're gonna go have a dinner date with some friends.
Do that.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Find him on Instagram, Facebook, official Mike on the Run.
Mm-hmm.
You've got at least a song on Spotify and iTunes.
I've got a whole album, and I just have 2 new songs actually recent this past year. Yeah.
I think I listened to them actually. It's good stuff. Very like I don't know. Who do you think you sound?
I don't know.
You know?
I don't know. I hate saying that.
It's more like rock and roll than Gin Blossoms, but you have like just kind of a alternative. Yeah, you
It's
sound
probably like 90s stuff because that's where my.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
I feel you.
Yeah.
All right, dude. Thanks again.
Cool. Take care, buddy.
See you, bro.